I always figured that tea was just gonna taste like hot brown water. And you know what? I was right.
Ted Lasso Season 3 came to an end a few weeks ago, and it's the end of the show for now. It's safe to say that the general fan reaction has been significantly more divided this time around, with myself sort of being caught in the middle of it all. I loved Seasons 1 and 2, but despite enjoying Season 3 for the most part, its problems were glaringly obvious and held the season's strengths back from reaching their true potential. Other than Sunflowers, the Amsterdam episode, I don't think any episode of the season excelled any higher than a 7 out of 10. In fact, I'd say that's where most episodes of the season lie. This doesn't sound that bad, but with Lasso's previous 2 seasons consistently being around the 9 out of 10 mark, this drop in the quality of storytelling is incredibly jarring. But it's not all doom and gloom, as there's plenty of fun to be had in the show's 3rd installment, and if the show were to return for a 4th season, I think it'd be pretty easy to get things back on track. Spoilers ahead for the entire run of the show, but before we get into that, hi, my name's Aidan Green and I like to talk about all things film and TV, so if that's something you fancy, then hit that subscribe button, like the video, and I'll give you a big old kiss or a hug. I don't know, I kind of regret saying that now. Also, I have a Ted Lasso podcast called Ted Lasso Post-Match, so if you want to hear me go in-depth on all 12 of Season 3's episodes, jump over there. Me and Vinny had a chat every single week, breaking down the brand new episodes. So, Ted Lasso Season 3, it's just very lukewarm, isn't it? Let's break down what went wrong, or what made my cup of Ted Lasso tea a little cooler than usual. The quicker we move on from that analogy, the better. Not every character needs to be a main character. We've got a lot of characters in Ted Lasso Season 3, and I mean a lot. It's always been an ensemble show and was successful at it. We had a handful of main characters and a billion supporting characters, but the supporting characters never felt like they took up too much screen time, only adding to scenes and even sometimes having small character moments themselves. Flash forward to Season 3, and those billion supporting characters now all feel like main characters with several new characters stepping into the supporting role. So much screen time was spent with Zava, Shandy, and Jack, and whilst these characters pushed some of our original characters into new directions, I don't think they justified the creation of brand new characters. Couldn't Jamie and Keely have had similar development in a more streamlined way? Why couldn't Shandy have just been replaced with Sassy? Having the writers work with characters that already exist, rather than creating even more of them, would have allowed for increased screen time with characters like Sam and Jamie, 2 characters whom Season 3 did pretty dirty. Regardless, the end result is messy and creates consequences all over the board. For me, the highlight of Lasso has always been the character work around Ted and his mental health. Don't get me wrong, Season 3 has had its shining moments on that plot point, but broadly speaking, the plot really did seem to be on the back burner for the most part. A number of episodes could go by that almost felt Ted-light. I like a bit more Ted in my Ted Lasso tea, if you catch my drift. I don't know why I keep coming back to this tea analogy, probably because I'm drinking tea whilst I write this. Moving on, with so many characters all at various stages in their arcs, some episodes of the season felt completely overstuffed, going far beyond having A, B, and C plots, often adding a D and even an E plot, murking the themes of each episode and ultimately just feeling really messy. In the end, I think after having such good character work in the show's first 2 seasons, Season 3 attempts to flesh even more people out, taking away from the stars of the show. I think sometimes the Lasso team is scared to have some characters simply be supporting, ultimately overstuffing the show. That being said, the Colin plotline is one of the best there is, and another example of Lasso tackling an important topic previously overlooked in TV and film.
Don't forget, I was with her first.
Yeah, well, I was with her last.
Oh, it's been a year, mate.
It's been a month, mate.
Too much rom-com. Let's settle down on the rom-com, okay?
Oh yeah, Roy, Jamie's coming over.
One of Season 1 and 2's best storylines was the Roy, Keely, and Jamie love triangle. Having Keely find her worth and leaving Jamie for Roy began Jamie's path to redemption, and watching the couple grow together in Season 2 before setting up an impending tragedy in the finale was genuinely heartbreaking. Now in Season 3, the love triangle continues with ship Roy Lee... With Roy and Keely broken up, Jamie has stepped in to support his coach, the two developing a genuine friendship whilst Keely finds herself in a relationship with Jack before realizing that that wasn't meant to be. There are hints that she may still have feelings for both Roy and Jamie, and it's all a little messy, but it still works. that's not the problem here. For me, it's that each character in season 3 seems to be going through some kind of rom-com arc. Each of them works well individually, a highlight being Nate and Jade, but with everyone experiencing a similar storyline, the theme just ends up feeling oversaturated and turns Lasso into more of a soap than a motivational comedy. As mentioned previously, the exploration of Ted's mental health and Sudeikis' breakdown of mental health in sports has always appealed to me most with this show. The will they won't they drama just feels a little overdone. Not everyone needs to be facing relationship turmoil. So let's cut back on the endless rom-com and focus on the storyline that was at the heart of the show in the first place. And round of applause for my boy Higgins. That dude, that tea-spilling dude, leads the pack in terms of having a happy relationship. What a bloody cutie.
Oh, damn. How can I help, Rebecca?
Also, as much as I love the Roy, Jamie and Keely love triangle, it's dragged on for way too long, and if season 3 is the end, its climax was super underwhelming. There are no lessons learned from Jamie and Keely, and Roy is handed a far too generic speech in his inaugural Diamond Dogs meeting. It's time to raise the stakes. Richmond is on cruise control. Season 1 saw the Greyhounds constantly on the brink of relegation, adding tension in the season's final act where seemingly every goal mattered. In Season 2, the team had an aim to return to the Premier League, adding stakes to coming out on top at the end of the season. In Season 3, it didn't really feel like there was a lot at stake. Having done enough earlier in the season to avoid relegation, the team's main goal reverted to just beating Rupert and West Ham. In the finale, the team did have a push to come out on top, but it became a case of too little, too late. It would have been far more interesting if they put some pressure on meeting a target. Could a major sponsor threaten to pull out unless the team reached a certain place on the ladder? Would that put some pressure on Ted and the team? Maybe Ted needed to face the threat of being fired if his team didn't start to reach prolonged success. Without that kind of threat, Season 3 just cruised by, with the football being placed completely on the backseat. Here we go again. If Ted Lasso the show is my cup of tea, the football is the milk, a nice little splash to make it taste better. Without it, it's a bit of boring hot water, and with too much of it, you just have cold milk. Nobody wants cold milk, but nobody wants hot water either. Except for my nan, she loves a hot cup of water. Ultimately, Ted Lasso needs to focus on what's important and remember the storylines that made it so great in the first place. Ted Becker didn't need to be a thing. Let's bring Roy and Keely together sooner than later and spend time on Richmond and the team with their backs against the wall achieving a certain goal. We need to cut the fat and raise the stakes. Important topics such as sexual misconduct in the workplace should not be filtered down to a couple of lines in reference to taking down a character, and should instead have an entire episode centered around its effects on all parties in the wider sporting community. Sorry, that one really pushed my buttons a little bit. If Lasso can do this, should it return for a 4th season, it'd be a great return to form. For now, it just feels far too lukewarm. After all, we know just how good this show can be. Make sure you subscribe. I promise not to use tea analogies for every video going forward, and please like the video. Check out my other podcast, Ted Lasso Post-Match. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. I love Ted Lasso. I'm sorry this was a little bit negative, but I do love Ted Lasso, and I just wanted to bloody talk about it. Okay, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Have a cup of tea.